Okay, thank you for your introduction, Nusrat. So during my years teaching ESOL, English has been the focus rather than developing digital skills with students. That's been part of it, but not a significant part of it. Many years ago, I taught CLATE, so computer literacy and IT skills to ESOL learners, but digital technology has moved on tremendously, as I found out since then. Particularly during the COVID pandemic, which I think has been mentioned. So I'm just going to share my screen for a moment. And I will give you, first of all, an overview of my presentation today. So I can just bear with me a moment. So to start off with, the areas that I'm covering in this sort of practitioner's reflection is they're thinking about the practitioner myself. I've already introduced myself, but to look at the learner group profile, to look at the class project that we decided to do as part of this project, which had ESOL and digital learning aims. You will see as part of the materials here a learner's audio CV as well, and I'll also cover the challenges that both myself and the learners encountered during the project. Also, the reflections, my reflections and the learners' reflections on all our learning and achievement, because the learners learnt and I did as well, and I feel that we did achieve most of our learning aims here. And at the end of the session, at the end of my presentation, we'll do a session activity in breakout rooms. And that will involve sharing ideas and best practice on the Education and Training Foundation Community of Practice. And I'll provide a link to that as well at that point. So first of all, the learner group profile. So the ESOL learners, I teach at a women's centre in Nottingham. So the current learners are women, and most have chosen to attend a women's only class for personal or cultural reasons. They've wanted to just learn with other women. Two of the learners are asylum seekers, and one is living at a women's refuge as a result of domestic violence in the home from her husband and his family. So the ESOL learners are attending the level 1 speaking and listening class. The learners are women originating from Bangladesh, India, Afghanistan, Kurdistan and Pakistan as settlers, and also people who are escaping really sort of crucial situations in their origin country. The language levels are level 1, emerging and consolidating. So they're just transitioning from entry 3 higher level. And I also had 2 level 1 learners who are sort of consolidating their learning as well. The digital skills, however, were quite different from the language level skills. So within that group, there were beginner and elementary level based on the evidence of performance at the start of the course. So quite different from the language level and more disparate as well. The main course aim for the ESOL element was City and Guild's June exam, finding a job. So it involved developing employability skills as well as language skills. And the EDS project aim within the course was to create and edit a video CV. So I move on to the class project and learning aims. So I'll go through the learning aims. But I will also explain a bit of a background as well to the course. The ESOL course actually started in January, so had time to actually have a look at review my own skills during the autumn term with a view to starting with a course that was developing employability skills. It's an accredited course, so the main aim is for learners to achieve the City and Guild speaking and listening, as I've already mentioned. The digital skills project formed part of the ESOL course and involved producing the video CV. So this would combine the digital skills development alongside employability skills and support learners with planning and delivering a recorded short talk for their exam in June. So they have to do a little presentation about themselves. So that would part of this project also formed a formative assessment in the middle of the course. So the digital skills learning outcome focuses on skills area 2, creating and editing, which is one of the 5 skills areas that's delivered on the ETF digital teaching platform. So I'll just go through the different aims of the digital aims for the course: to create and edit a script in a Word document and to save it, of course. And some of the students had never used Word before for anything, so that was actually quite a steep learning curve for them. Assess a range of video creating and editing apps. So originally we were going to actually have a look at the range that they could use and narrow it down to using 1 or 2 of those apps. Download an app onto a tablet or laptop, and that would be a personal device. And the WEA supplied a tablet for one of the students who couldn't do that on her own personal device, her phone. Create a video recording in a suitable and safe setting. So it had to be where other people wouldn't learn any information about the student outside of that group, something they knew already about themselves. Edit a video recording to make a CV. Save the final digital file onto a device, and to share the file safely and securely. So I'll come to that in a moment. So the language focus for the learners in terms of the ESOL aspect was to learn and produce grammar, words and expressions used to describe themselves for a customer service role in a charity shop. So that involved introducing yourself, reason for applying for their chosen charitable organisation, the qualifications they'd achieved already, the skills, experience, and how they would benefit from working for this charity, and then have a good conclusion to their video CV as well. The employability focus for the learners was that most of the learners are interested in working in the voluntary sector, and they'd expressed that interest to start off with. So it was very much focusing on what they wanted rather than imposing something on them. So in order to improve their English skills, they recognised that themselves as a good benefit, and getting used to talking to native speakers as well. The target job for the video CV was a customer services assistant job in a charity shop of their choice. So they chose, we looked at charities beforehand in the course, and then they decided which charity that they would like to work for. The employability aims for the learners was to improve their employment prospects when finding work. So when looking for work and going for an interview and preparing for that interview as well, and sending off a paper CV, but also a video CV, seeing that as the current way of doing that. So to improve their English skills for gaining employment, and to develop digital skills useful for gaining work and a position at work. Okay, so in a moment, I'm actually going to screen share a learner's audio CV with you. But first, I'll mention some issues actually that arose during the project. There are always some issues, as we know, as people who manage and deliver courses and teach them, and the consequent adaptations we had to negotiate to meet the learning aims and to complete the project and feel that the learners had actually gained what we set out to gain. We had 2 main issues. One was a time issue. So 2 of the I had 2 level 1 learners in the group who I felt would be very confident and good at buddying up with the other less confident students. But unfortunately, one level 1 learner left the course. The course venue was actually too far for her from her home. She made valiant efforts to come in, but it was actually literally a bridge too far for her. So she had to leave the course. The other level 1 learner took 3 weeks absence because she had dental work carried out in France. And she decided to go back to France to do that, which is where she'd come from to settle in the UK. And unfortunately, the learners also missed 3 weeks of their course, their 6-week course, as I caught COVID-19 and had to isolate, and took a further 2 weeks to recover. So we actually had to concertina the learning journey, if you like, and actually change some of those learning aims a bit, adapt them really and flex around that. There was also a privacy or security issue as well. The remaining learners, in fact, all of the learners had been a bit reluctant to record a video CV. due to privacy and domestic reasons. So they agreed to an audio CV. That's what they would prefer. And as I've mentioned, I had 2 people who are asylum seekers in the group and 1 in a women's refuge. And really, they didn't want to reveal anything about themselves, that they didn't feel secure about that being made available or passing on to someone else, and they couldn't control the circulation of that material. So they, despite reassurances, we opted for an audio CV and more anonymity. So the adapted aims were to record, edit and save an audio file of a CV script, and to create a PowerPoint presentation and just have 1 slide and insert a selected image representing themselves and their chosen charity. And then finally to insert an audio file to go with the images. So I'm just going to share the result of one of the, actually she's an entry 3 learner and she's done a very nice audio CV. Oops, apologies there. Bear with me a moment. There we go. And so I'll just play the audio CV for you.
To introduce myself, my name is Afsha. I would like to work for Muslim Hands because I think the charity helps the people. I have always wanted to work as a customer service volunteer in charity shop because I enjoy interacting with customers. Muslim Hand helps people all over the world. Therefore, I am interested in this charity shop. I have a master's degree in Islamic studies. At the moment, I am studying level 1 ESOL speaking and listening. And I am fluent in Urdu, Punjabi, German, and English. I feel I am the right person to work in your charity shop because I am good at working on the till, helping the customers. I am an honest, reliable team player. My studies keep me busy, but in my free time, I go to a long walk in parks and beaches, and I go mountain climbing. I think that I can provide excellent customer service in your shop. There are some great benefits for me to such as improving my language, my English. I hope you will consider me for this position, and I look forward to hearing from you soon.
Okay, so as you can see, there were a few challenges when we were recording it. The Women's Centre is actually an old Victorian building which isn't soundproof, so you can hear the sound of traffic in the background. And also, despite us all sitting really sort of still while the recording was going off, because we did this together, so that it was a listening activity for the other students, there are people sort of who closed their files, not thinking what sort of a noise they're making. The brief was also to keep the CV to under 2 minutes, so it's nice and short. So this learner actually met that aim as well. It's about 1 minute 35 seconds.